welcome to another edition of the One Team We Agree On. I'm Jillian.
And I'm Kyle. How are you doing today?
Well, besides my broken foot, I'm doing great.
Yeah, my
Blunder of the week, honestly.
I mean, let's tell that story real quick as we kick off episode 100.
All right, well, I'll tell the real story, I guess, because I told my students multiple versions of the story that were completely fabricated. One of those versions was, and this was at the suggestion of some of my coworkers, because they know what that I do the union stuff. They're like, yeah, tell the students that you were on the sidelines of the union game and you got like slide tackled by accident. And that's how you broke a foot. So I did tell that to some of them, which was fun, and they totally fell for it. But no, actually, it's really dumb. I made it this far in life without breaking a bone. And I fell asleep on the couch. I was like half asleep. I got up and my like foot and leg kind of had fallen asleep. And then I got up and I rolled my ankle, which I had sprained like 10 years ago, like pretty badly.
But keep going. Then you were calling for me.
And well, okay. And then so like I felt this pain shoot up my like into my ankle, and I'm thinking, oh, I messed up my ankle again. But no, like my foot then was really hurting. I'm like, that does not feel right. I think I broke something. So I went to bed though. And then in the morning, I'm like, Kyle, I'm like, I'm up in bed. Our house has like 3 floors. Okay. And like Kyle's downstairs, because he fell asleep on the basement couch.
I did. We're recording. I was actually like, I was watching soccer
like,
and just like kind of fell asleep.
Yeah. And I'm like, God, I'm in so much pain. And I'm like, yeah.
Here's the blunder on my part. I woke up because she had called and I heard the thing vibrating.
I'm 2 floors up at that point.
I'm like, okay, what's that? But you ever wake up, guys, and you're like half awake and you're like, okay, what's up? And then you fall back asleep. But then I heard somebody say Kyle, and I'm like, hello? And I'm like, okay, nothing. And then next morning she wakes up, walks down here. I'm like,
oh, I didn't walk down. I crawled down because I could not walk on this thing. And I came down and I'm like, Kyle, I've been trying to get a hold of you because he just kept sleeping. I'm like, I need to go to urgent care. I messed up my foot. And sure enough, yeah, it was broken. But went to urgent care. They got me fixed up. I'm like it's not that bad at least, but I'm in a like this kind of surgical shoe thing to stabilize it. It's not even like a real boot or anything. And I have crutches. And we still went to the Killers concert with Todd Sunday night. It was fantastic. Also shout out to Shelby for giving me the cushions for the crutches, because that was a lifesaver. But the Killers were amazing. We had a great time. But except crutching it to the venue was torture.
So it's episode 100. Can't believe we made it.
100. Oh my gosh. Like, how'd we get this far?
And what we say is, we're nothing but the friends we made along the way. So
yeah, and we're happy to have 2 of our great friends here.
Yeah. Mike Barrera from AAT Sports across the pond.
Across the pitch?
Across the pitch. I always do that. And there's Blunder of the Week. And,
already messed up.
And Todd Lewis.
From the free kick.
Free kick. I'll let you finish that now. Yes. How you guys doing tonight? Thank you for coming on our show.
Yeah, doing pretty well. Appreciate you guys having me. Congratulations on 100. That's amazing. I feel like you guys did that in no time also. But it's what, 2 years now already?
It's almost 2 years because we started right after the MLS Cup in 2022.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so
congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was doing fine, but I'm a little bit offended now that Kyle messed up Mike's podcast name.
I know, right?
I mean, it would have been even worse if it was mine. I mean, it's only three words, so come on, across the pond. I know they have a British guy on the show, but there's one South American, one American, and one English guy. So it's like basically 25%. They just need one more person to be, I don't know, pick any other continent. But come on, Kyle, across the pond? What are we doing?
So true story. Remember, Mike, remember when I had you and Jose on?
Yeah.
I opened it up with across the pond. I said,
did you? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, and then you called me later that day. And you're like, Kyle, it's across the pitch. So I should have gotten it right. Of course, I bunched.
That's funny.
Well, it's going to be the last time either one of those.
Kyle.
When I'm pretty sure, Kyle.
This is the last appearance. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, everybody. But anyway,
this is why people don't take bloggers serious.
Yep. Nailed it.
Nailed it, Todd. Yeah, Mike's right. Nailed it.
Well, there's some people that don't worry about the bloggers.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, they're not worrying about the bloggers.
Anyway, I digress. So, what are we wearing today, everybody?
Okay.
Go ahead, huh?
Yeah. So, well, I wore my Red Bulls, my Dead Bulls one on Todd's pod, which, by the way, you guys, if you have, we're not really going to talk about the Red Bulls game. I know we like kind of we waited a little bit to do this because we had some things in place. But if you want to hear all of our takes on the Red Bull game, listen to Todd's free kick pod that was after the Red Bull game because we covered that extensively in our thoughts. But I'm just wearing this year's, home kit because I like it.
And I'm wearing my join or die because I feel like right now, either join or die with this team right now, to be honest with you. Mike, what are you wearing?
Well, Kyle, where did you get that shirt? I actually like that a lot.
I got that one for you.
Yeah, you got this from Christmas. It's on.
I think
it was on the Fanatic store.
Yeah, it was like on the MLS store or something. Like I don't know, 2 years ago maybe.
Shout out to the Union being cursed ever since they took the join or die down from the stadium side.
They've been cursing themselves a lot lately. Well,
yeah,
for me,
I'm just kidding, but seriously, man, that was always cool.
Exactly.
You walked into the stadium and said join or die. I always thought that was cool. Now it's just like Philadelphia Union.
It's lame now. Yeah, well, for me, Kyle, I'm wearing one of your favorites, the baseball kit. If you can see that. But underneath it, I have a North Carolina T-shirt. I'm in the college basketball mood early.
There you go.
So I threw on a Tar Heel shirt because that's kind of my favorite team, and just ready to chat some
Right,
Nice.
rock and roll. Todd?
And I'm wearing two people here's least favorite jersey, one of the least favorite jerseys. It's the 2021 away kit, the Lightning kit, the most superior kit in Philadelphia Union history. But some people apparently don't like this jersey. So
who doesn't like that? What's wrong with them?
Are you talking about? I thought you were talking about the Parley kit that year.
Nah, you hated this one, Kyle. Somebody
you need to go back. I thought it was a Parley kit.
No,
somebody roll the tape from the Anaheim trip. Somebody
wait, we don't like the light. Did you say you didn't like the Lightning kit?
I thought he was talking about the Parley kit. If I thought, oh my gosh, we just had total misconception on that one.
I mean, I don't like the Parley one that's white with the like peach colored.
No, it was the aqua blue one that Todd said. Because remember at the
the one that's just solid like aqua blue. You don't like that one?
No, I don't.
I mean, it's fine.
Todd's like laughing.
Somebody, after you get done listening to this episode, it's our episode at the United Soccer Coaches Convention. I believe it was on Kyle and
Yeah.
Jillian. Yeah, it's our best. We ranked.
Pretty sure, Kyle, you said that you didn't like this kit.
In Kyle's defense, I didn't like it at first either, but once I saw it in person,
I did say that.
Like, okay.
I did say that in Todd's. I said it took me a while, but now looking back on it, like it's a top 3 road kit all time for sure. Now
just road kit. What?
The black.
See, this is what I'm saying. People top 3 road kit. It's a top 3 kit overall.
That's true.
Okay. Let's
definitely making the point.
I am because
it is definitely a top 3 kid overall, Kyle. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I didn't
come out of the house, Jillian. He's banned.
It's top 3 root kits. Like number 1, maybe number 2. No, it's number 1 because I don't like this current one. So
you don't like you don't like this one or the
that one I love.
Oh yeah, this one's great. Oh, you're talking about like the smoke one.
I don't like that.
The Simpsons one.
Yeah, I like it, but like
your way kit's gonna look like.
Yeah, I want to be on that committee, dude. I want to be in on that.
Anyway, so before we get started with the topics today,
where can everyone find us on social media? So we are on Twitter or X or whatever. I refuse to call it X. I'm sorry. And anyway, we are on there at TOTWAG. We are on Facebook and Instagram at The One Team We Agree On. We have our YouTube channel, The One Team We Agree On, and our website, theoneteamweagreeon.com. And you can find me on TikTok as well, although I need to update some things on there. But at Jillian_Almany or something like that.
Yeah. So before we get as we get into this, let's talk about the international break recap.
It was not kind to us in terms of injuries.
No, it's not. But Union get a lot of Union 1 and homegrown Union 2 guys down, Academy kids.
Yeah, good representation there.
Got so let's talk about the first team because the first team was they didn't come back okay.
No, they did not. Okay, so you have the Red Bulls game where Ty was great. Danley was great. Andre was great. They all come back injured.
Yeah. I mean, and then of course Gazda didn't go.
Yeah, Gazda,
he got light hamstring injury.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was not good way. Although Danley did score a goal.
Yeah, I mean,
he looked good from what we saw. Some of the highlights Jose clipped up.
Yeah, but
and just some of the other stats looking at the games.
Yeah,
I mean,
Danley took a bad tackle and
in his last game.
Yeah, and so his ankle is hurt, and Jim said today on his presser that he won't rule him out yet, but I know ankle stuff is not good. From personal experience even. Yeah, so I hope he'll be okay, but I'm not too hopeful that he'll be available, unfortunately. And then Ty, he's been on such a run, and that would be a huge loss if he wasn't available. But thankfully, Jim said today that, and it was a hamstring thing with Ty. He said that Ty was training, that he was feeling good, that he'd be available. So thank goodness for that. But probably the most concerning thing is Andre picking up a little groin discomfort, as Jim put it, and he's day to day. He didn't train today, and he'll know more tomorrow, Friday, of what's going on with that. But Lord help us if Andre is not in.
Well, Jim said he's hopeful.
Yeah,
we know what that means. But anyway,
yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, Todd, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts? I know you and I have talked about it. We were going to wait until we heard Jim's comments today. I mean, what's your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much had an idea with John Jock. I mean, you leave pretty early in the first half. Any ankle injuries are going to be pretty significant. I mean, I'm not trying to compare myself whatsoever to a professional soccer player, but like I've had lingering ankle issues playing soccer before, and it takes sometimes a couple months to recover. So you got to imagine, a professional athlete playing at such a higher level, the intensity is so much higher in training and games and whatnot. The wear and tear on those ankles are going to be, even worse, I feel like. And yes, I mean, all soccer players, I feel like, probably suffer ankle injuries. They're all getting kicked throughout the games and everything. And you when you see a tackle like Danley had, the first thing that came to my mind was you hope nothing's broken.
Right.
A really, really bad tackle, dangerous tackle. I'm surprised the guy didn't get a straight red card because of how reckless it was. But, Jim Curtin said he won't rule out Danley this weekend against Inter Miami. And I think that's the best thing that Union fans could possibly hear. And maybe it's Jim Curtin playing a little bit of mind games against Tata Martino, because the Union don't have to release their official injury report until 5 p.m. On Friday. I'm assuming this episode comes out. So yeah, I mean, maybe Jim Curtin wants to not give them such a head start on their scouting report and everything. Like, okay, I'm not going to rule him out, because he doesn't have to say, yeah, he's out. He has up until 5 p.m. on Friday. So yeah, maybe it's a little bit of mind games from Jim Curtin saying, yeah, I won't rule him out yet. Andre Blake, that's something that nobody caught. And before we even talk about the rest of the injuries and everything, I have to give a shout out to Jose Nunez, who's with Mike Barrera, because without Jose, nobody's knowing about the injury to Ty Baribo. Nobody's knowing about the injury to Danley John Jock. And Jose missed the Andre Blake injury. And I told him, he called me on the phone. I'm like, dude, if you wouldn't have clipped the Danley injury, if you wouldn't have been told that Ty Baribo got hurt away with Israel, nobody would have known. And Jim Curtin would have opened in his press conference and people would have been shocked. And so shout out to Jose there just for the great coverage that he does and really keeping everybody in the loop. And I think all of us can say, yeah, he does a good job keeping us in the loop too. I mean, how many times run things by us? I mean, shout out to Jose for the tremendous work that he does. And so, yeah, Andre Blake was the big surprise for me, because I was like, wait, it shows that he played 90 minutes against with Jamaica against Honduras. Like, everything I thought was fine. And then Andre Blake obviously has a groin injury. And so that's a big concern. And then you get the news that Ty Baribo was supposed to play against Italy, and he picks up that hamstring injury, right? Jim Curtin said, but he said he'll be good to go against Inter Miami, which is huge for the Union because 14 goals in 15 games, the Union need him, and I think I talked about this on the Battered Herons podcast last night, where it's pretty telling to me, and maybe not so much anymore because of asking Jim Curtin a couple weeks ago about, Sam and Dinneron now finally being able to train for a couple weeks with the team, not playing every other game because of the League's Cup. And so when you're doing that, you don't have enough time to train with your teammates. And so we saw Quinn Sullivan play up top a couple times with Ty Barubo in the past. We've seen that's pretty much it. And so I was like, this is like kind of telling because it's Jim Curtin saying he doesn't trust Chris Donovan, doesn't trust Marcus Anderson, who's been injured. I'm fully aware of that. And does he really trust Sam Dinneron? But it makes sense because, that they were playing so often in League's Cup. So I was saying on that show, I'd be curious if Sam Dinneron starts this game with Mikal Ur, now that he's had 2 weeks to train with the club, if Ty Berube is not able to go, but it sounds like Ty's able to go. And so that's huge for the club. And then Daniel Gaza, like Jim Curtin said, uh, he's good to go against Inter Miami as well, but he's not at the same sharpness level he was against Red Bulls, which is a little bit concerning to me. But yeah, having him is huge. But I think not having Andre Blake, like that's your most important player at the club, and we've seen that this season. Without Andre Blake, this team's not even a playoff team.
Nope.
No, we're toast without him. I've been invoking all of my Catholicism here. Praying to Saint Raphael, okay, patron saint of healing, doing the whole bit, Kyle, like, yeah, I'm like, Kyle, get your mom on her prayer group. His mom has a lot of pull, everyone pray for healing here, right? Need Andre to be good.
No, and I think, Mike, you kind of brought something up today on Twitter. You and I were chatting about it. Andre, Blake, where are you at with some of these injuries? How concerning are you, and what do you think?
It sucks to say, I feel like the entire Union season, they took 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And just a month ago, we were saying how this team was so deep. It seemed like it had really, they were healthy. Everybody was playing really well. And then suddenly all this stuff happens again. And it's been very frustrating. And Andre Blake's season is kind of just like how the Union season has gone in a nutshell. It's just been one road bump after another. And so for me, I look at this realistically speaking. I just sit him down for the rest of the year. That's it. He's not a 24-year-old, 25-year-old. He's already 33, 34 years old, right?
Right.
Just give him the rest of the season off. Put Semele back there. Yes, does that suggest that you maybe throw in the rest of the year? Sure, but I think realistically speaking, this team is not going to go far in the playoffs. They would have to catch lightning in a bottle tomorrow for that to even happen, and that's not going to happen at all. So it's just I'm thinking long term. This is a huge winter transfer window. We all talked about the offseason, how this is a huge offseason. Well, then Andre Blake's health has to be a priority because we saw what happened last year with Glesnes. He was dealing with an injury all year, and then he finally got the surgery, and then he started out the season really, really poorly. Saw the same thing with Leon Flock. You can argue we've seen this with Bedoya as well. He had injury, lingering issues, maybe came back too soon. This team has had these problems with multiple players. Just give Andre off. That's it. He's too important to the franchise.
So if I can jump in here real quick.
Go ahead, Todd.
Zemla over Andrew Rick. I'm curious why you feel not Andrew Rick instead.
Why honestly, I'm not confident in either of them at this point. I mean, really, you could put Joe Bendick back in there. I'm not. I like Semele in the sense of how he was early in the season. I thought his defense let him down a lot, and I think that if you are looking at the future as well, I feel like Semele is probably the more likely backup to Blake next year compared to Rick. Does Rick get loaned out? Does he see sometime elsewhere where he can actually get minutes? Because he's still pretty young. I mean, he's a teenager for the
18.
Most part. 18. Get him minutes somewhere else and let Semele just get some experience. Because the reality is too, if Andre has had a lot of injury issues for the past year and a half, that having somebody with experience with the back line is not the worst thing in the world.
So somebody had asked Jose, sorry to cut you off, Jillian, on Twitter, that, is a goalkeeper a priority now in the offseason for the Union? And I think that's probably a good question for us all to discuss here on this show. I mean, you have Holden Trent, who is an option for next season. I don't expect that to get picked up. Andrew Rick, you bring up a great point, Mike. I think he's past MLS Next Pro. I think you got to move him on to the next level to get a better competition, which would be USL Championship. There's no way that he's going overseas, because if he goes overseas, then he's never coming back to the Union, in my opinion.
Right.
And then, yeah, you have Zemla, who I'm not confident in at all. I know he was the goalkeeper of the year with Louisville City last year in USL, but the biggest complaint I have on him is his footwork is not good. And when he tries to come and collect balls on crosses, he's not confident at all. He spills so many balls. He doesn't outmuscle people, and it's free headers or a loose ball inside the 6-yard box and winds up in the back of the net. The Chicago Fire game is where I was like, yeah, I'm done with this guy. After the Union blow a 3-1 lead and wind up losing 4-3, and Zamla had a huge blunder that game too. I mean, I'm pretty sure he mispunched the ball, went out for a corner kick. The very next play, Chicago Fire score. And yes, the Union had to do a better job defending the set pieces, but everything that needed to go wrong in that game absolutely went wrong in the second half for the Union. So yeah, I would be curious. I mean, do you guys think that a goalkeeper should be a priority for this club next season?
Well, I'll answer that first, and Mike, I'd like to hear from you too. But I mean, let's look at like a player like John McCarthy. Do LA Galaxy make him available? Because haven't they moved on from, like, they've kind of rotated their keepers now. Is there somebody like him, or do they go out and maybe get a veteran? I mean, it's a good point. I mean, you could get somebody that could be a reliable backup. Maybe a little bit more of an upgrade than Zemla, maybe have some veteran experience. Sure, why not, if it comes at the right price? Because again, aging, Blake, injury concerns, international duty, we're definitely going to need him. So Mike, curious to hear your point.
Well, you see what Miami just did. They brought a new Starry as their backup keeper this past a week and a half. It's yes, he's 38 years old, but he's experienced. He's got obviously a great background in his resume. I would not mind seeing somebody who's a bit more of that caliber in that. Now, I guess we were hoping that was the Bendick a couple years ago, but that just didn't work out. But it doesn't mean that the next veteran keeper won't work out. We can try something different, because to Todd's point, I definitely agree with the crosses. He's shown that lack of confidence, but at the same time, to defend Oliver a bit, I wouldn't be that confident when you've got the 4 people in front of you who are really just all over the place. And I think that kind of went hand in hand. The back line wasn't confident in Semble, and at the same time, I'm sure Semble wasn't that confident in the back line too. So I want to see a little bit more from him. I'm not ready to completely jump ship, but I think going somewhere of that veteran route would make me feel a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I would love to have like John McCarthy come in and be back up, and and like, honestly, Zemla, did you guys see we're going to talk about the Union 2 game a bit, but did you guys see him play at all in the Union 2 game?
No, I missed
it. Was good to see him get some time playing, of course. I mean, he almost got burned big time the one. Well, like, he was way off his line the one time.
There was 3 times that Todd brought up about what he...
Like, Macania saved his butt the one time. Like, it was... He was like... Yeah, I only could see some of the game because I was coaching, but like, yeah, he got pulled way off his line. And we all remember when he got chipped by Orshano with Cincinnati. Just like stuff like that. But, I think he's got potential, but and it didn't help how bad the defense was with him, but he does have a lot to improve, I think, at this point. So I don't know. I might feel better with Rick, but Rick's so inexperienced too.
I think it's a perfect storm this year. I mean, you have 2 inexperienced goalkeepers. I think it's a perfect storm where it's like, you wanted to get better. You brought in a young keeper that has promise. You have another keeper in the way. You just went out and got an academy piece that could potentially be the future from San Jose. So there's another pipeline. Ernst always says they don't want to block the pipeline. Well, come on. I mean, if you got an opportunity there to get a veteran, it's a valid point. We'll see what happens, but...
Well, so you guys bring up John McCarthy, and he signed through 2025 with LA Galaxy.
That's not happening then.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, right, that they may want to move on from him. I'm trying to look out right here how much that he's making. But I was looking at a team, $290,000 in guaranteed salary John McCarthy's making this season. So I look at a team like San Diego, and not to try to take away from the 2024 season, but I mean, how can you not look ahead to the future for the Union? Because we got to look at San Diego coming into the league next year. So that means the expansion draft for the new teams. Teams have to protect 12 players. Homegrowns, I believe, 24 years or younger are automatically protected. And so I'll be curious. I mean, could LA Galaxy potentially leave John McCarthy unprotected and San Diego wind up picking him up? It's possible, right? Or maybe they work out and say, hey, look, we'll trade you John McCarthy if you don't select any of our other guys we leave unselected. I mean, it's possible.
Very much so. I mean, that's an interesting point that you bring up there, Todd. I mean, he's got starting experience. Obviously, he's had championship experience,
MLS Cup,
but but again, you know, he's also been around the league for many years. So yeah, I mean, you could do a lot worse than John.
It's like a backup quarterback in the NFL. Sometimes you just got to have that. You know, what was that Chiefs backup quarterback for Chase Daniel, who was just absolutely awful, but because he was just like this veteran guy, he just stuck around the league for like 12 years or whatever it is. Tyrod Taylor's a good example now with the Jets.
Yeah, John McCarthy is the Nick Foles of soccer here.
Yeah, seriously.
Seriously. Yeah.
So let's move on. Let's talk about Inter Miami. So Union's got 7 games left. Currently in 11th in the Eastern Conference, and got some work to do. Gentlemen, how are we feeling about, given the news today, Messi's 50-50, still dealing with flu, train today, according to Tata. Where are you guys both at with this game coming up on Saturday?
Todd, do you want to go first on this one?
I was going to say, let Jillian go first.
Yeah, Jillian, where you at? Yeah, let's go, Jillian.
Oh my gosh. So my brain flashed back to the last time we played Miami, right before we left for Vegas. For Kyle's birthday and our anniversary, and how deflating that was. But gosh, I mean, for me, I think if the Union don't have Andre, I feel like we're kind of toast. But I think, you know, if Andre's in, there's a shot.
Even like a 70% Andre?
I mean, a 70% Andre is better than
I'm not
the other options.
Just asking.
Yeah. But, you know, if Ty can keep doing what Ty's been doing and the other guys step it up. I mean, Ty and Mikel have been really strong. Yep. You know, I think if they can keep doing that, it's definitely, I think, a stronger team when you have Andre in there and with Ty performing the way he has been than the last time the Union faced Miami.
Right. And I think Todd and I were talking about that on his podcast last week. You know, if Ty and Mikel get going, anything's possible. The question is, are they going to get going? And that's still, they're starting to, but then you have Andre go out. So it's like, what we got? So you guys.
Well, for me, I'm concerned. I mean, again, if Andre is in that, it's already not going to look promising. I think we're all a little concerned with how much time Bedoya is going to get. We know in a situation like this, if you go in a tough environment, Curtin does like to favor Alejandro in the starting lineup. I really hope that's not the case. I want to see Quinn on the right-hand side or Bueno on the right-hand side, just to give a little more speed, some tenacity, a player that's not going to be gassed by the 60th minute. I wouldn't mind that at all. I am hopeful that Baribo is playing, but I at least want to see Michael continue his good form. And he's the one player, if Baribo's not there, he's going to give me hope that he's going to at least get one shot on net that's going to get into the back of the net. Besides that, the Union are on the road, and that has been promising this year so far a little bit. They're on the road. Anything can kind of happen when you have that non-Subaru Park environment. I guess for some reason that makes him more comfortable, but I'm not optimistic. I don't think this is going to be anything more than probably a 2-goal Miami win.
Yeah, I mean, I would be so okay with just getting a point out of this game.
Oh yeah,
a draw would be a victory to me, honestly.
Todd, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, a draw would be amazing for this team. And so last night on Better Herons, I said 3-1 into Miami victory, but that was before I was aware of Andre Blake's injury. And so if Andre Blake can't go this weekend, I can honestly see it being 4-1, 5-1 into Miami this weekend, just because I was having a conversation with a buddy today and he was like, dude, Andre Blake's day to day. And I was like, yeah, it sucks. And I think, look, I said it a little bit ago where Andre Blake has proven he is the most valuable player to this team this season. And you do have to look no further than the wins-loss record when Andre's been in net compared to when Andre has not been in net. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty. I'll go and look it up and probably post about it tomorrow. But I don't feel confident. You know, you could have everybody else healthy. And without Andre Blake, you have no chance in hell to come away with a point just because Andre Blake means so much to this team. And so I hope, you know, that Andre is healthy. I hope that Mikhail Uhre can continue his hot form that he had against New York Red Bulls. Ty Baribo can continue his hot form. Daniel Gazdag, I said, I thought would probably score a goal against Inter Miami via penalty kick. But yeah, no Andre Blake potentially is not a good sight for Union fans. And, you know, I think we've seen plenty of it. And we're like, well, no Andre, we have no chance in hell in this game. And if that's indeed the case on Saturday and we see Andrew Ricker or Oliver Zumla, yeah, Union have no chance.
Well, and like, I guess to what Jillian said earlier with the 70%, you know, Andre Blake, is it even worth trotting him out there then if he is not even 100%? Because let's just like look at it from the fact that they play on Wednesday in New York City. So they have a quick turnaround already. But is it like, let's say, hypothetically speaking, he plays at 70, 80% and he gets hurt again.
Right. Which we saw before. Sorry to interrupt.
We've seen it exactly. We've seen it before.
We've seen that. And that's a good point, Mike.
At what point do you say, coach needs to step in and say, this guy cannot play? We're not fighting for a supporter shield. We're not fighting for a top spot. We're fighting for like the 9th spot in the East. Let's be realistic here. And if he's a 99%, sure. Anything less than that, no way.
Well, Kraken actually said that a month or so ago, where he said he could have been better handling the whole Andre Blake situation. And you would hope maybe it would be different this time. But when you're a team that's on the verge of one of the last playoff spots, I don't know. I'm not confident that the Union hold them out. I'm really not.
Well, here's so both you bring up a good point because you're right, Todd. Curtin brings that up. And, you know, being in the playoffs, we know Andre's going to want to play for the badge. We get that. But sometimes, you, as an athlete, you can be your own worst enemy. Having said all that, let's say you get blown out 5-0 or whatever. But Andre rests, heals. Maybe that injury is not as bad, and he's 100%. Now you got 100% Andre Blake, or even like a 95%.
Yeah.
Regardless of the outcome on Saturday, moving forward, can the Union lose on Saturday and still push forward? Because to me, they can. You know, I still think the East is going to beat up on each other. Like Todd, you and I have talked about this. It's going to beat up on each other. But if Andre's not going for like 1, 2, 3 games, I mean, there's a real possibility it's time to wrap up shop on this season because you're not confident. I mean, even against DC and Atlanta, you gotta have Andre for those games.
I mean, I'll jump in here. In terms of the table, they're only 2 points back. You still have 7 games to go. If you sacrifice this game, it's not like you're out of playoff contention.
Right.
At the worst, you might be 3 points back from the last spot. All it takes is a run. I mean, and listen, we thought this team was dead in the water before Leagues Cup. We said, just sell the team, burn down the whole stadium, it's over. And then all of a sudden they stay 1-2 in a row against, I think it was Nashville and the Revs. You're like, okay, they both suck, but whatever. And then you hit Leagues Cup and you're like, okay, we're playing really well. So we have seen this team turn it on. And we have seen them turn it on when everybody's healthy. Imagine that. So just try to get to Wednesday a little bit healthier. And if you have to play a B squad on Saturday, I think if you're really trying to make the playoffs, that is a better plan than just forcing it on Saturday. Get an extra day off.
Yeah, I mean, I think this team can make the playoffs still if they lose on Saturday to Inter Miami. I mean, Jillian, I'll bring it up again. I put it up last night on Better Hair on. You asked Jim Curtin how many points or wins do the Union need the rest of the season. He said 5 and 9. Get the one against New York Red Bulls, and so he said you need to win your remaining 3 home games against DC, Atlanta, and Cincinnati. Cincinnati could be interesting. They might not have anything to play for a decision day. Your spot could be locked up in second place, and that be that. Just rest guys, be healthy for the playoffs, or as healthy as you can be. And so you need to get 3 wins. That's a minimum. And so then that leaves you with trying to get a point at New York City, trying to get a point at Orlando City. And if you do that, then I think you're pretty much going to be in the playoffs, I think. But it all comes on Andre Blake for me. You know, all these games hypothetically, if Andre Blake's not able to go, which, you know, I don't see why he wouldn't be. You rest him, like Mike said, if it's any real concern, you rest him this game against Inter Miami, because it ultimately doesn't matter. You know, the game against New York City, who you're chasing, you're not going to catch Inter Miami in the table. New York City, yeah, I mean, you're going to need them to blow a lot of games to get higher up in the table. I think the best Union could probably do is 7, but look, you need to take care of your business against the teams that you have somewhat of a chance to catch in the table. In New York City, you have a better chance to catch than Inter Miami. I don't even think the Union mathematically can catch Inter Miami. So
no, they can't.
Yeah, I wouldn't be concerned if the Union lost against Inter Miami.
Yeah, I think, you bring up a great point. And if like Andre needs to be rested for, say, Inter Miami, but then he would be much better for the New York City game, I'm all for that, honestly.
No, I think there's a long-term plan here. I mean, like Todd said, you win your home games, you get a point. Heck, who knows? Maybe when we're on Columbus, they get lucky. But Mike, to your point about when this team's healthy, it's hot. Todd, Jillian, Jose all said that the game against Red Bulls was some of the best soccer they played all season. I don't know how you feel about that, but I thought that was some of the best outside of the heroics of the crossbar.
Yeah, crossbar was the good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I mentioned on the postgame show. It felt like the Nashville game, where they just hit the post a bunch of times. And I mean, listen, a win is a win, even if it's an ugly win. Teams don't go to Red Bull Stadium this year and win, and you went out there and did that. That is commendable. We never beat Cincinnati at Cincinnati. That was a TQL Stadium, whatever it's called. And we went out there and we took care of business there. I was looking at the schedule though, because you guys are mentioning what's up ahead. I didn't realize that Columbus game is on the 5th, and you have 2 weeks off before you host Cincinnati on that final.
Right. Yep.
And it's like
after going to Orlando midweek.
I know. I think about like how this team usually plays off a break. I'm like, oh, if that, to Todd's point, maybe Cincinnati doesn't have anything to play for that night, but we most likely will. It's like coming off a 2-week break. Like, do I really want to like be hosting Cincinnati, who might just want to kick us out of the playoffs just for the sake of doing it, because we are, the big brother.
I mean, DeAndre Yedlin said that they won't forget that loss to the Union in League's Cup, the 4-2 victory by the Union. He said they're not going to forget that. What better chance to get payback than to make sure the Union don't get into the playoffs? So yeah, we are sitting here talking about how Cincinnati might not have anything to play for, but yeah, maybe they do. Maybe they want to make sure the Union don't make the playoffs.
Darn well, and I think I said this in our podcast once. Could you imagine that showdown? You can't imagine egos. I mean, they're all friends. Let's be honest. Chris Albright, Jim Curtin, Pat Noonan, they're all friends. But at the end of the day, that's something where you kind of let your egos. You don't want to let Curtin just walk into the playoffs. That's going to be a game where I could see that kind of bringing
also considering how well the Union have played against Cincinnati so far this year. It's not like they're getting blown out. They're making these things pretty competitive. And also, when you think about what these last few games of the season are going to mean for these two teams, Cincinnati and Columbus are only 2 points apart. There's a very real chance they're both fighting for that second spot within the last week and a half. And for them, an interstate rivalry, you want to be better than the people right down the street. I could see them being very competitive in that final game.
It's worth it. I mean, it's a very good possibility. So, moving on. Thoughts on the U2 game against Carolina Core? I mean, you didn't finally get a win in the last 6 games, snapped 4-game win streak to the Carolina Core. Your thoughts?
Yeah. So Union too. what really drives me nuts, this really bugs me, is when Union 2 are broadcast on Apple TV, you can't see the replay of it.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to watch replay. Now, when they do it through MLS Next Pro's website, like it's through YouTube and you can, it's annoying because I'm coaching during the time Union 2 were playing this game. Now, I was able to see, definitely quite a bit of it. And I saw, of course, Nick Periano got to take a PK in the 4th minute. And so that put the Union 2 up early. And then they got another goal much later in the game from CJ Olney, which was great in the build-up to that.
His 5th goal of the season.
Yeah, so the build-up to that was real good. And so I thought it was a really good team win for them. I know Marlon LeBlanc said on Twitter, what a great win, and of course he's always talking how young that team is, which they really were. They had a bunch of their academy guys in there as well. And so currently they're on top of the East. They're ahead of Cincinnati too, which of course Cincinnati too has been team that has beaten them like every time. So that's been tough. But overall, they're sitting in 3rd. Yep. Okay. So Union 2 have been really a bright spot this season. When the Union were struggling, at least, Union 2 though, they've been exciting and doing well, but some really good performances by the team as a whole with Union 2 there.
Yeah.
And, they didn't have Neil Pierre. He's called up with the U18s.
Yep.
With the U.S. men's national team. So great honor for Neil. I know he started, they had a game today, and wasn't it in Tokyo or something? Or it was against Tokyo? I don't know.
It was in Tokyo.
Yeah. So great honor for Neil, though. And well deserved. I mean, he's definitely, I think, one of the center backs of the future for the team.
We'll see.
He's got good stuff. So, Makanya played well. I mean, I don't know if he's ever going to get any first team minutes at this point, but I mean, the fact that Jim said he'd go with Nate at center back, I think, before Makanya. But he was doing all right. David Vasquez has been really great to watch. He's been doing really well. I'd love to actually see him, if it made sense with the game. I'd love to see him get a chance actually with the first team at some point. He's got really some good stuff. And Frankie had a really good game as well. Frankie's been doing a good job at that level. So it's been really good to see these guys progress throughout the season, and then they've been a lot of fun.
And you've done an excellent job covering this team, I must say.
Well, thank you. And so have you.
Let's all agree that you're doing a great job covering this team. Marlon appreciates both you, myself. I know he's gotten to meet Todd already, and he appreciates the coverage. And I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Did either of you guys see any of the game? No.
I regret to have not watched nearly enough Union 2 games, and I know I have to make it down. People say you got to make it to a Sunday night.
I told you this after the Columbus game.
There's one Sunday game left, Mike.
It's like Anthony Edwards told Charles Barkley, "Bring your ass."
I know. I gotta
bring
just
that
do
ass.
it. I do because it seems like it's a really good team, and like, so what's the playoff structure like for them?
So here's a weird. So let me explain this.
Yeah.
So basically, like last year, what was it? I think what is it now? It's like 8 teams now. It's expanded. So every the top 4 teams get to select their opponents. So the Union could say, "Hey, you know what? We're feeling confident. Let's play FC Cincinnati." So you go play FC Cincinnati. So you can pick whoever
it's so
your
weird.
opponent is in the opening round, and then it kind of goes from there, high seed. It's weird.
I kind of like that.
Which is kind of like why I want to get to that game, because I want to ask Marlon, because by that point you're going to see what the playoff picture looks like. I kind of want to ask him, are you looking at, is it more like, hey guys, who do we want to play? Or is it like you and your staff just sitting down looking at tactics and saying, okay, we match up well against this team, not so much against this team. How's that all work out?
Yeah. And also just a note too, we just recently had an article out about Marlon and Kellen LeBlanc, and Kyle did a really good interview with both of them, and also Jameer Johnson. So we have That was on our website. But yeah, like talking about the father-son dynamic with Marlon and Kellen.
But shout out to Ty, because I totally dropped the ball and forgot that he played for Columbus Crew at one point. He was in the Columbus Crew Academy. Kellen was.
Yeah, but it was really great to hear that. I was coached by my dad in swimming, so
it was a good
yeah.
interview. Just brings me back to being coached by my dad as well. So.
Yeah, but it was really good stuff, and it was good to hear from Kellen too. I think a lot of the fan base hasn't heard from him too much because he's in the academy and he's only 16, and same with Jameer. So definitely to the listeners, definitely check that out if you haven't. And Union too, they actually are going to be in Miami this weekend too. They play Inter Miami too on Sunday.
Yeah, it'll be a good game.
Yeah.
Miami, middle of the table, opportunity for them to move up. You got to keep up top.
Yep.
So,
and they have NYCFC too as well, like soon, and then so I think what's their next home game? It's a little while.
It's the Atlanta game. It's the day after Atlanta, because remember, we're going to Atlantic City in between those games.
Yeah, so right. Yeah, we have the Atlanta the first team game on Saturday and the Union 2 game on the Sunday.
That's birthday, Saturday night, and then driving back.
So. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. My future sister-in-law and my brother, they're gonna, I think, come to the game with us again for the Atlanta game, and then we'll go to AC.
Yep.
And then we'll come back and go to the U2 game. So that'll be good.
All right, so let's wrap up this show. Talk about some of our favorite moments from these 100 years. I want to hear both.
100 years, Kyle.
100 years. It's been
100 episodes.
It felt like 100 years. No.
All right.
Todd's like, yeah, I've listened to everyone. I've aged 100.
First of all, okay. Do we have a count of how many times Todd's been on the pod? Because he's definitely the most.
I think Todd is.
Holmie's been on a few times.
Mike and I have been on a couple times. And then outside of that,
we do have future episode coming up with a guest that's been on with us before. So stay tuned for that. But honestly, some of my favorite episodes. Okay, Stuart Finley. I mean, that was our first player, and in fact, that was like our 10th episode, and we had Stu on. Like, that was great.
Shout out to Todd to tell me how.
You guys love to have Stu on how that game came about. I don't know if you guys have told it on the show, but it's a wild story. If you guys feel comfortable.
Okay, I gotta try, Todd. I gotta be honest with you. I gotta try to remember that, because wasn't it okay? So I'm like, Todd, you've had players on before in your past episodes, like. Even though I have media background, I've never done it. So you're like, here's the script. We're all helping each other out. So I reach out to the Oxford, like you're helping me out there, saying, okay, here's a guy. I think he's in communications. Who you contact? So I reach out to him, and he's like, hey, thanks for reaching out. Let me talk to Stu. We'll get back to you. So so we're like, okay, let's see what he says. I'm still thinking like, yeah, he's not going to say that. Hi, this is Stu says go. Here's his number.
Yeah.
Wow.
Here's his phone number.
Here's his number.
All right, here's his number. So I'm like, all right, great, thanks. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, anything else? No, just talk to him. It's easier usually to connect. Hope you have a great interview. So that's it. You're on your own.
Which is much different than how it's usually handled.
They give me WhatsApp. I've used WhatsApp when I was coaching Division I. Didn't really remember all of it. Go to text him like, hi, my name's Kyle, and I accidentally call him. So I hang up a minute, right. Todd, I'm like, oh crap, I screwed up. So like, all right, I'm like, oh, strike 3, you're out. But then he gets back to me. We have this interview. Finally, we get together. Then remember, we're all like waiting there. Stu doesn't get back to us. We're like, all of a sudden he texts us, hey, I'm so sorry, something came up. He was very gracious. Remember, like, okay, we'll reschedule. So we finally reschedule, have that, and then our camera system's not working and all that, and it was just like.
And this was our 10th episode. It was really early on. Our production value was.
looking back, I'd like to have Stu on again.
I would love to have him on
because
again.
of so much is,
Now he's back. Now he's back at Kilmarnock and doing really well there, and glad to see it.
But no, that was a great story.
Yeah, no, he was a great guest. And I really enjoyed having Dave Leno on. Kevin Kincaid, those guys were great to talk to. And
one of my favorite moments is when first time Mike, Jose, and I we were all on with those guys, and the cat knocked down all the crap.
Oh yeah, and this is why we shut Shadow out. Like you all saw Oscar in the background there a little while ago. He's at my feet right now. He's just hanging out, being a loaf. But we shut Shadow out of the room when we record now because he will take down everything with his tail.
I think some of my favorite interviews have been like Frankie Westfield was a great one.
Yeah, he was. He really was.
Obviously the convention with Todd, that was fun.
That was so fun.
Just to interview Dave Abrahams, like that's like freaking huge. Just to have him on.
Dan.
Yes, Dan Abrahams, who was at ASCA, by the way. I did talk to one of the coaches. He was there. They introduced myself. They're like, "Oh, we know Kyle." He's like, "Oh yeah, great," kind of thing. But yeah, I hope to meet Dan again down the road because I'd like to have him on. And then
it's been really fun just having a lot of the Union fan base on.
Yeah, some of these learning like Valerie, who's like on all our comments, like just having us like interview her and just hear her story. It's like great. And I think like we've talked about having Conrad on because Conrad's always hanging out.
Having the Slocum family on was great. Just like all these. We've had a whole bunch of the Union 2 players on, which has been great. But it's been such a rewarding experience. And how like when we started this out, I'm like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing with doing a podcast. Like Kyle had to kind of talk me into it. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And now it's like, I think I found my voice.
I think you found your voice more than I
better than Kyle.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all agree. I think she's she's the captain now.
I'm the captain now. No.
So, you guys got anything else to say as well?
I mean, I really personally, I know you already mentioned it, really, but I love the Dave Leno episode. I think so. I mean, we all see like who's the guy on Twitter who puts like all the video content.
Nick Picone.
Yes, thank you.
Doing the Lord's work with all that stuff that he does.
Does amazing work. I love all the videos he does, but I don't think people realize how much sports Dave covers.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And like again, you all know, I'm a huge college basketball fan. He does college basketball and local games too, and I love watching. And I know we talk about Tom McCarthy and all these, and Merrill Reese and all these great announcers that we have in Philly. Dave does not get nearly as much attention as he should. And that's because he does a Union and doesn't do the Eagles or the Sixers or the Flyers. And I don't know. I would love for him to get more recognition, but I'm glad you guys had him on. Hearing his story and how he kind of went through it, I thought it was actually one of my favorite episodes because of how great he actually has become and how he's getting more popularity every single year.
Yeah, Dave's awesome. Like that was honestly one of my very favorite ones. And I think it might have been our longest one too. Like we just kept on. We could have kept talking and talking. It was great. And we're hoping to have him on again soon. And I know he was just covering the US Open. I mean, for people out there, he was covering the US Open, doing radio broadcasts for that. And that was a long, stretch of coverage for him, being away from home. And then he was going back and forth with that, and then he was covering the Union. We saw him at Red Bulls, and got to talk with him quite a bit there. And but then he's going back and forth with his family, but he does incredible work, and we're definitely lucky to have him on the Union play-by-play. So
all right.
I think for me, any episode that I've not been on has been my favorite episode by you guys. I do too much talking. I mean, anytime I go and edit my podcast or if I have other people on the podcast, I'm like, man, I spend way too much time talking. Let other people shine.
Wait a minute.
Any episode that I'm not on is my favorite.
Wait a minute. Like Jose's also been known to write.
Oh, no. I mean, I don't know why Mike has us both on at the same time, because anytime it's Jose and I want a report, it's guaranteed to go over an hour every single time.
I love you, Jose. I've just busted your balls.
I've mastered the craft of keeping him to like an hour and 2 minutes. I've definitely noticed the last couple episodes, like an hour and 59 minutes. Like, okay, I'm on the right track here. But yeah,
I forget what episodes a whole bunch of us were on, and like it went like an hour and 20. And I'm just like, how'd that happen?
I've had a couple of those episodes.
Yeah.
Why would anybody want to listen to this? So the people that do listen to them, you guys are real sickos, and I appreciate you guys.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, it gives me something to listen to when on my commuting with school. Like I've told you, Todd, I love like getting in my car going to school, and then I'm not out in my neighborhood yet, and I hear, I hear the intro to Free Kick, and I'm like, yeah, let's go, Julian Carranza, a spectacular finish. Yeah, all that. So who's ready to hear Kyle mispronounce some names?
No, actually, I'm not going to.
Oh, you're not?
Wait, no, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
My favorite show. So, Tim Furlong, nobody mentioned that. There was a fantastic interview with Tim Furlong with NBC 10, I believe it is. So, I mean, anytime you get local guys that pay attention to the Philadelphia Union, I think that's massive because this is what this team's missing out on. They need more of those local news coverage. And it's like, everybody in the Philly media world was there when Kevin Sullivan was announced, but nobody else cares. And Tim's a legitimate Philadelphia Union fan. So it's really, really nice seeing, him come onto your show and build that relationship, that connection with you guys. It was really awesome. But I'll definitely be biased here and say the Anaheim convention. I mean, just that whole experience was out of this world. And if anybody's listening to the show, if you've never been to the United Soccer Coaches Convention, I highly recommend it. In 2025, it's in Chicago, but in 2026, in January, it's going to be once again in Philadelphia. And that's an event that people need to check out. I mean, the connections you meet, people all over the world. I know, Mike, you guys had Thomas Granemark on your show before, and Thomas was at the convention. We had talked here and there in the past on Twitter, and he comes over to the booth. He's like, "Oh, Philadelphia Union." He's like, "You guys want me on?" He's like, "I coach there." And we're like, "Yes, we know exactly who you are. If you have time in your schedule, please come and chat with us." And man, him and I will talk maybe once a week, every other week, and he's fantastic. And so, I mean, the connections that we got to build at the convention was fantastic. I mean, you mentioned the Dan interview, Kyle. I think that was fantastic. But for me personally, I think the one that I think could have part 2, 3, and 4 is with Mandy Green. For people that don't know that story, Kyle and Jillian were supposed to have Mandy on during the convention, and then a scheduling conflict came up, and she felt so bad that, she had to cancel on them. She's like, you know what, we're going to get this done. So they recorded when she was back home. I think she lives in Ohio, and they talked for basically an hour. And I was lucky enough to be able to sit in behind the scenes and everything and just listen to that conversation. And they talked about the coaching life because, as you guys know, Kyle and Jillian both swim coaches, and Mandy Green, a coach of she's a coach herself. So I mean, just listening to all the stories that all three of those people got to share was very, very touching. And so I'm very, very biased with Anaheim just because, you guys came out there pretty much last minute. I know Kyle and I talked about it for a while, but Jillian, I mean, I don't know if people pay attention. I don't know if you've said this story, but yeah, everybody knows she's a teacher, and she came pretty much last minute to that trip. So I wasn't expecting it to be Jillian. I thought it was just going to be Kyle out there. And then Jillian's like, you know what? I got off on school. I'm going to go to Disneyland. Never been to Disneyland, nor have I. And so I was out there basically for a week, and Kyle and Jillian come out, and yeah, the convention was not like it was in Philadelphia. We were really, really strapped for time. They gave us less time than we had in Philadelphia, but we made the most of it. Yeah, it was a little bit frustrating knowing that we only get 6 hours, I think, the first day, 4 hours the next day, and that wasn't the case in Philadelphia. It was basically between 8 to 10 hours a day in Philadelphia, which is very, very taxing. I mean, the one thing I learned in Philadelphia was take breaks. Don't keep going. You got to get food in your body, because one of the days I just went 8, 9 hours straight without eating anything, and I got a really, really bad headache and got super dizzy. I was like, I got to eat something. So yeah, I mean, we made the most of a situation that wasn't very well communicated with us until we were all out in Anaheim. But just being out there with you guys was fantastic. And then this isn't really an episode you guys have done, but I'm super proud of watching what Jillian's done this summer going down to union practice. And, I'm not afraid to throw shade at people. There's people in the media that have thrown shade at all of us, indirectly and not, and said, well, if you came down to practice, blah, 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 blah. There was times when Jillian was down in practice, the only person down there. And people want to make these snarky comments. Oh, well, you would know if you come to practice. Well, where were you guys when Jillian was down there? Nowhere to be seen. I was fortunately able to come down twice during Leagues Cup on Saturday practices. This isn't my full-time job. This isn't the full-time job for anybody. And so to see Jillian go down to practice multiple times in the summertime, make connections with the players, with more people on the coaching staff, to get a stronger relationship with the people in the PR department. I love to see that. And, people always want to put us down, and that pisses me off so bad. People have this attitude that, oh, we're so much better than you. Bullshit. All four of us on this show are doing a much better job. And I think people are finally starting to realize that they're sick and tired of the same old boring coverage that we've had the last 4 or 5 seasons. And, people got tired of it. And so people like Kyle and Jillian stepped up and said, we're going to dive in here. Kyle and Mike jumped into the space and jumped up. Somebody like me, pretty shy. I don't care about the accolades and everything. I want to see other people do better. I want to see Kyle and Jillian do better. I want to see Mike and Jose do better. If I can do my job of helping them get up there, then I'm satisfied. I don't need to be up there. I want to see other people bask in the glory. And Kyle and Jillian, fantastic. Mike and Jose, fantastic. But Jillian just taking the opportunities when she could to go down to practice. Very, very proud of her and absolutely crushing it with the coverage.
Well said.
I think well said, Todd, because I think everybody here has other jobs. I mean, you, Jose, Jillian, Mike, everybody crushing it. I think at the end of the day, we're happy because, like today at the presser, I had things I had to take care of with my job. She's able to hop on. If sometimes I'm free and she can't be there, we can hop on. It's a team, but all of us helping each other out, giving you talk about like Jose, just giving us everybody's working together. We're collabing, and if anybody else is gonna try to hold all of us down, like I told you earlier, Todd, there are people in this media that they're going to strip mine this and leave it barren. But there's going to be people like us that at the end of the day are going to try to rise up, encourage others to cover this team, encourage others to get the information, to be good. But there's some that don't care. They don't want to help out the future generation. So what's that going to leave you with when all of us are old and moving on? There's going to be nothing. Sure, there'll be some coming up because there's always journalists, but why don't you help the current crop coming up? That's my whole thing. So I'll leave it at that.
Look, I love this team. I love the PR department. I've no will towards any of them. But look, I think their coverage could have been better. And I'm glad that the union finally decided to do a podcast. I mean, I feel like there's a million union podcasts now and whatnot.
Right.
Towards them getting late in the game for the podcast and everything. But, all of us, what we want is the best coverage possible because it's what fans deserve. We talk all the time about trying to get the union in the 5-for-5 status. And they had an opportunity in 2022 where the Phillies, were down and the union could have won MLS Cup. And we know how that went. They had a really, really good opportunity to captivate the hearts of the Philadelphian people. Unfortunately fell short in MLS Cup. And so, people want coverage of this team, but the coverage isn't always there, and it wasn't there in the past. And so you see people stepping up with new ideas, trying to cover this team differently than what it's been covered in the past. And, it's a good thing to see. And I've said this on shows in the past. I've said it to people publicly. People ask all the time, is there any, hate, jealousy for you towards other shows? Me personally, no, absolutely not. I just said it. I want to see other people rise up to the top, bask in all the glory. Like if I can do that, get these guys to shine, then I'm happy.
Absolutely.
Also, it helps when we all work together too, because it's it's Jose and I on the same show every single week, or Dave and I. It's nice to mix up and have Kyle on there, Jillian or Todd, or all 5 of us. It just adds a new different wrinkle to it because again, we're all covering the same exact thing. We're all saying the same exact thing. Andre Blake has injured, but we're saying it all differently. And that's what makes
different ideas.
Yeah, all different ideas, different perspective, background, all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. Also, I was talking about on my show on Tuesday. We talked to Alex Windley down in Miami, and she mentioned how the independent reporters got basically a kick to the curb when Messi came around. And it's like, well, it sucks. We were there from the beginning, and some guy from ESPN Argentina wants to come rolling in because of Lionel's there now. It's like, well, that sucks for us. And what's going to happen in 2027 or 28 when he's gone? And is there going to be that same relationship that we have with the independent boards and the communication team? Probably not. So we're fortunate with Philadelphia being able to cover and have the access we do, whether it be the Union 2 or the Union 1 team. It's like, we all of us can cover it because we work together well with the PR department. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I really appreciate all the kind words. And it's been really a privilege to get to do what I've done and work with all you guys too. And I know we kind of got into this big time because of you, Todd. So really appreciate that. And that's the thing I love about the independent media with the union. We really all do support each other. It's not a competition. We all bring some different things. And I've loved getting to know all you guys. Like, that's honestly been one of the best things about since we've been into the union and following the union and covering the union is the friendships we've made. And I just love how supportive, and because this isn't like our full-time job. We do this because we love it, And so I hope that the union keep valuing the independent media and giving us the opportunities that we get, because I think, everyone's just crushing it with that.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's wrap up by naming some really big SIM cards.
Because there's, no greater pastime than listening to Kyle mispronounce names.
I got Bill Hamid.
And again, folks, these are from 2022.
Hamid. Bill Hamid.
Thank you.
Okay. Valentin Castellanos.
Good job, Jillian.
Yes.
One to Jillian, 0 to Kyle.
Chicharito.
Oh, I got a good one. Quinn Sullivan.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Check out Quinn there.
Justin Che. Is that correct, Todd? Justin Che.
Okay. Michael Baldissimo.
Don Badgley.
Good job, Kyle.
Christian Roldan.
James Sands.
Eloy Room.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that name in a while.
I know.
Jeez.
Right?
Okay, I'm not even going to be able to pronounce that.
Wait. What's that? Kyle Alexandre.
Kyle Alexandre.
Christian Fuchs.
Yep.
Isaac Atanga.
Good job, Kyle.
Is that right?
We got Brian Galvan.
Okay, I know it's Marshall Rudy, but I always mispronounce this. It's Shaquille Marshall Rudy. Played for
Toronto.
Yeah.
Now with Montreal, I believe.
Yes.
I don't know. Zan Komanek, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got Jaden Nelson.
Got Brian Galvan again.
Brian Galvan. Dang.
Marcelino Moreno.
And then you got one.
Oh God.
Christian.
LAFC, isn't it?
Yeah.
Carlos Vela.
Oh God.
All right.
You can trash that one. It's okay.
Yeah. Right.
Actually, everybody else surprised that he's still out of the league.
Yeah, kind of. Like, wouldn't you expected him to somebody pick him up, like one of the LA? Do you think San Diego takes a flyer on him?
It's a good question. I mean, I think he definitely wants to stay in California. I mean, they already have Chucky Lozano. Why not go out and get another Mexican international?
Especially in
San
San Diego.
To see what happens.
It will be interesting to see what happens. But before we get started, before we end tonight,
already started, Kyle.
Yeah,
wow. Kyle's taking all those L's.
That's 3 L's tonight. Actually, I think this is one of our longest episodes ever. But hey,
it's episode 100. It has to be.
Why not?
It's got to be special.
It's got everything: card openings, Kyle blunders,
lots of Kyle blunders.
So
yeah, you didn't even hear about the blunder on the way home from the Killers concert.
No,
Todd.
but we
That's
will.
for that's for another time.
But anyway, before we get out of here, where can people find you, Mike? Let's start with you.
So on Twitter, I'm Barrera1323. I'm on the same with TikTok, but Jillian, like you, I have to update that and get back on that app. But otherwise, you can follow Jose and Dave and myself at AAT Sports Network. We're AAT Sports _ on Twitter. We try to do post-game shows after every single game, which has been a lot of fun lately to do that. So follow us doing that. Jose has a Substack. You can follow him at Jose R. Nunez 91 and Dave GFC Miller. He's been very busy with Jillian, but he's going to try to join the post-game show on Saturday. And that's, follow me on that.
All right.
Yeah, and you guys can follow me, I'm sure. You guys are all following me from this podcast, so you guys don't need to follow me anymore since you all are already following me. But at It's a Todd's Life personal account, or if you want to follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcast, the Free Kick. The YouTube channel, youtube.com/Free Kick Pod, where I do goals breakdown videos. Started going live on YouTube, which is not always been the smoothest, but hey, look. The intro and the outro have been good the last couple episodes, so small progress. And then I also have a Substack where I do some writing, and then I also put all the episodes and goals breakdown videos on there too. Keep everything in one place. thefreekick.substack.com. And again, thank you guys so much for having me on this episode and for being your 5th choice, 6th choice off the bench. I appreciate you guys.
Always a pleasure, though.
Always a pleasure, guys. So that's all for this episode.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to having 100 more and then some. I know.
That's with Jillian. Jillian didn't tell you, Kyle, that your contract was only for 100 episodes. Now she's taking.
You're not being being renewed. Sorry, Kyle. No, but and we have some. We have some guests in the works, and we're got some things coming up. So, so make sure to subscribe and leave a comment. We love hearing from you. And if you have any ideas for us, let us know. And we look forward to seeing people at the games when we finally get back to some home games coming up. So definitely come see us and say hi.
And until next time, I'm Kyle.
I'm Jillian.
And we'll see you at the game.